Hello, brothers and sisters. It's your brother Alejandro again, your founder and host of KYP, coming to you again with another episode. I would like to thank everybody who listened to my previous episode. I got a lot of positive feedback from it, and I would just like to thank everybody who tuned in to listen to it. With that being said, today's episode will be about the 1712 Willie Lynch letter to the Virginia colony. Now, before we start, the man's name of the person who wrote the letter is said to not be Willie Lynch from the research I've done. So we don't really know the individual name of this person who wrote it, but it's just said that his name was Willie Lynch, so we're just going to go along with that for today. Willie Lynch was a slave owner in the British West Indies who used cruel methods to control his slaves. But Willie Lynch knew one thing, that he must create division among them in order to control them. So I'm not going to go all into the letter. I'm not going to read everything verbatim, but I am going to point out some similarities between some of the things that he talked about and how us as black people in the community today have fed into it. Because we must also recognize that he said, if you do these methods, he said, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. I want you guys to think about that, family. We've been in this part of the world for 401 years, making it 401 years this year, brothers and sisters. And think about how we are still oppressed in an oppressive state as a people. So, to start, Willie Lynch knew one thing, as I said, was division. He knew you have to divide a people. And bringing people to a foreign land, you got to divide them or else they'll unite. We're talking about the black man, the black woman, and, how you got to divide them and also divide people based off basic things. So he said you have to pit the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves, and the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves. So when I hear this, brothers and sisters, I think immediately of us today. Now, before I start real quick, not everything Willie Lynch says, I believe, happened in chronological order. In the sense that when he talks about, the divide between the black man and the black woman, that didn't happen. We haven't been struggling with that since we came out of slavery. Because during the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s, the black man and the black woman were pretty united. We were a strong force. We were a strong community. It wasn't really until the 60s, the 70s started the welfare, and then we began to divide slowly. So I do believe that our oppressor has used some of the Willie Lynch methods, not as soon as we came out of slavery, but further on into the 60s and 70s to continue to oppress us. Because again, Willie Lynch knew that division was the way to rule your people if you want to have control over them. So we're going to start with some of his basic divisions, and we're going to really go in depth later on of how his methods were used to destroy the black man, the black woman's relationship, and also to create the slave state. So, as I said, he also said, again, you also must turn the male versus the female. You must also turn the old against the young. Okay? So when I think of when he said the old versus the young, I think a lot of today's society, the way we view elders, brothers and sisters, think about it. How do we treat our elders in the community? A lot of times I've talked to elders because I do believe that eldership is very important, but we got to understand also that at the same time that we have to respect our elders. We have to take into what they say and really, how can I say, I don't want to say marinate on what they say, but, think about what they say. My mom always told me, she said, hey, the elders have been there before you, so they know how to properly handle the situation. So a lot of times I talk to the elders in the community. I talk to them and they give me good advice. But think about today, brothers and sisters. We don't really take much advice from our elders. You have a lot of young people saying, that was their old day. They don't know nothing. They're old. We can't do that now. So what I'm learning is that through these divisions, Willie Lynch understood that the unity is strong. So what we have to do, family, we have to start valuing our elders. We have to start listening to them. They have been there before us. I always say elders have the best solutions. Elders and ancestors, most definitely. Marcus Garvey, an ancestor, had a great solution on how to handle the oppressive system that we live in. Malcolm X had a great example. He was a great example of how to handle it. He told us what to do. Our solutions lie within our elders and our ancestors. So we have to respect our elders and take and heed what they say and take to it in a knowledgeable way and accept what they say as knowledge rather than simply discrediting them because they're old and they're not from this era. Age don't mean nothing when it comes to knowledge, family. And I always say that elders, as I said again, the elders have the best information for us on how to help us because they were here before us. They've seen things we haven't seen. Because when I talked to an elder here at North Carolina Central, he said, hey, all of this used to be Black Wall Street. All of this. He said we used to own the whole, we used to own the whole city. We used to own Black Wall Street in Durham. And he said that when he was growing up, he would see the way young men and women would conduct themselves on college with such dignity. They would come out dressed appropriately and everything. And he told me, he said, what happened? And he said he can't even speak up because the young people at the college will disrespect him anytime he even tries to say anything. So he can't even speak up because we don't have respect for our elders. So if you don't have a pad and pencil out right now, I'm sorry to tell you guys to get it. But if you do, put down that we must respect our elders. We must do that. That is one of the most important things we have to do. With that comes stronger unity because our elders will properly equip us with the knowledge to take us further into our endeavors of getting rid of this oppressive reign that we have been under. Another thing that Willie Lynch said that is very important to heed till today is you have to pit the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves and the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves. That's very important, family. Very, very important because, you see, today we still have those divisions. I've heard this team light-skinned thing or, you know, oh, you're not this, you're not that, you're not fully... all this crap that we have going on today and this division because of light-skin and dark-skin. You walk up to some brothers, they say, hey, I only like light-skinned women or only like dark-skinned women, all this. I understand you may have a preference, but we have to still be united. You understand? We can't let the skin tone as black people divide us. If you're a light-skinned brother, then we welcome you. If you're a dark-skinned brother, we welcome you. We need everybody in on this. We can't be dividing each other like that through skin tones. It's very ignorant in today's society, and we can't do that. So we have to also make it to where we cannot be divided by skin tones, brothers. Put that down on your second point. Willie Lynch also understood that trust is important. He said, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. You see, he understood that you have to make the slaves distrust each other. You have to put one in the house and one in the field and build animosity between them. So the house slave, the master doesn't treat him so good, he's not going to want to leave the big house. He's going to want to stay in the house with the master. But the field slave, he's out here working, getting whipped every day. He's going to have animosity. He wants to overthrow the whole system. But what Willie Lynch understood was that if you put some of them in the house and treat them right, they're going to look up and they're not going to want to get rid of the oppression. Malcolm X often talked about the story about the house slave and the field slave and how, you know, one would want to get over or, you know, not be under the oppressive reign, and one would want to continue to be under the oppressive reign because, you know, the oppressor was so good to him. We have to understand as black people, whether you think what's going on, our oppression going on today, or if you think it's going good, if you think it's going bad, that we got to come together and understand that we are being oppressed. I don't care how much of a corporate job in America you got. We are all oppressed as black people globally. We can't continue this, oh, I made it and I didn't make it. It's kind of like, you know, these rich black people, you know, who make it in society. Oh, yeah, I got all my money and everything. Yeah, society been good to me. I heard a rapper the other day talk about, well, shoot, I made my money. America's been good to me. But you forgetting all your brothers and sisters out here who are struggling because their system is oppressing them. And just because he understood now, Willie Lynch understood, you got to let some of them in with the master. You got to let some of them with the big house. You understand? He understood now that you let some of them up there, they feel like they're not even black no more. They can't relate. I'm not saying the black experience is similar for everybody, but we all black. We're all being oppressed here. We're all being oppressed here, family. So we got to stop this house slave, field slave thing. We got to stop this, oh, I don't trust you, this thing. She said that, and I quote, I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. He understood that to keep a slave in this position, to keep somebody in their oppressive state, you have to make them distrust each other. We have bad trust issues, black family. Bad trust issues. It's bad. It's really bad, family. We gotta fix this. We must fix this. So put it down again in your notes. We must become trustful of one another. You will hear, I've heard black people, and I bet you in the audience have heard, they'll say, I don't want to do business with a black man. He gonna probably steal my money. I've heard it several times. Many times I've heard it. And what's funny is that we don't trust each other, but we definitely trust our oppressor. We'll say, hey, yeah, do this for us. We'll do it, yeah. But when it comes to a black man, I don't know. He might steal my money. We have bad trust issues. And those have all been built in to make us weaker as a people. Because if two people are being oppressed, but one trusts the oppressor and the other doesn't, there's something clearly off, because those two people cannot unite. We have to understand that we got to trust each other. We have to build a trust with each other. You understand? We have to build a trust with each other. He also said, I use fear for control purposes. We are very fearful. And when I say fearful, I don't mean of any radical, outlandish idea. I mean, we're fearful of doing things that better ourselves. I always tell brothers, I said, let's read a book. A lot of us are afraid to read. I truly believe that. And I don't know why we are. We're afraid to do things that help us. Some of us are afraid to get off what we're doing or to stop what we're doing. Recently, I told somebody, I said, hey, let's do a hip-hop detox. They were like, oh, okay, maybe. But they don't want to do it. We got to understand that we got to sometimes stop doing things that we're doing. And we're afraid of changing our lives. We're not afraid really of, I don't know how to say it, but we're not afraid of, how should I say, I'm sorry if I'm mumbling here, family, but we're not afraid of protesting. Yeah, protesting, for example, or holding signs. But we're afraid to do the things that really, to me personally, matter more. We're afraid to read, family. We're afraid to keep our money in our community. We're afraid to sometimes, respect each other. Sometimes we disrespect out of fear because we think that brother out there is out to get me. Sometimes we disrespect, as I said, out of fear, not only because of that, but we just disrespect on a constant because that's all we ever see. We disrespect based off how we perceive each other to be. We got to stop fearing each other, and we got to start coming closer to each other. Because we're all we got. All we got is each other. We can only relate to each other, nobody else. So we understood that you must use fear. Now, Willie Lynch was also very strategic in his breaking of slaves. Very strategic. He understood that our ancestors came from Africa. The original man and woman are the black people. We just get that clear out the way. So he understood that in African society, the man is the protector, the provider, and the comforter of the nation. He's the protector. We're the warriors. We're out there fighting to protect our families. We're the provider. We were out there farming, hunting. We were doing all of that, and we still do in our societies. But he understood that there's a relationship between the black man and the black woman. He understood that you have to keep the black man and black woman separate if you want to create this unity. So the biggest thing that Willie Lynch did was separate the black man and the black woman. That was the biggest thing he did. That was the most biggest atrocity he did, because he understood that it's better if you have one thinking differently and one thinking from the other. This is going to be a little bit of reading I'm going to do here, but please bear with me. He said, take the meanest and most restless, and he did not use this word, but I'm going to use it as a substitute, Negro. Strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male Negroes, the female and the Negro infant. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, face in opposite directions. Set him afire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining Negroes. I'm going to stop right there and give a little bit of commentary. See, the black man, the original man, is a very masculine man coming out of Africa. He's a warrior, to say, he's a protector. We're willing to die for our women. We're willing to die for our children. We're willing to die for what we believe in, our culture, our religion. We were willing to die for it. So Willie Lynch understood that you got to break that. Because on the slave ship, a lot of these brothers, they were ready to rebel. A lot of rebellions happened on slave ship because we didn't stand for nothing. We stood for something. We were ready to fight and take and take our leadership role over our people. So what happened was that, and this is not in the Will Lynch letter, but if you do some research, there was a process called buck breaking. And it was known where you would break the manhood of a black man. So part of this right here is buck breaking. You know, you got to strip the black male of his masculinity through cruel methods. Sometimes they would rape the slaves. Sometimes they would kill slaves just to let them do. There was castrations, all those things to break the spirit of the black man. You got to break the spirit of the black man. That's what you got to do. So we understood that you had to do that. So what Willie Lynch did was that he would get, as he said, the meanest and most restless Negro. Get the meanest and most restless one. And you would bring him out in front of everybody. Tar and feather him, put fire on him, and strip him in two different directions. You would tear him apart. Because he understood, again, that fear is a tactic to use. They want us to fear them, family. People, when your oppressor wants you to fear him. So we got to understand that that was what happened. We were meant to be those who feared our oppressors. So the first thing we have to do, I repeat, is to break the masculine, the strong protector, provider role. Because if you break him, they don't know what to do. They're afraid now. So as he said, the next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining Negro males to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Mind you, he's doing this in front of the female, in front of the black woman and her children. Okay? Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. So Willie Lynch understood. He said you have to make an example. He wanted to kill one of the black men, but put so much fear in the other black men and the women to where they won't want to rebel. He said you have to crush their ability to resist. He says keep the body, take the mind, family. In words, break the will to resist. Family, we have lost our mind as black people in America. Let's just keep it 100% here. We have lost our mind. We are not the same as the people who were taken as prisoners of war from Africa. He understood that you can't let them read or write. That's knowledge they're gonna gain. And the biggest fear, I'm telling you, one of the biggest thing that your oppressor worries about is black people reading. It's probably the biggest thing. That and the black family, I believe, are the two biggest fears. Because reading is knowledge. It don't matter what you're reading. You could be reading the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, any book. You're gaining knowledge from it. It's going to help you in your life somehow. It don't matter what the book is. It's going to gain you knowledge. So you got to understand, if you enlighten these people, they will rebel. They will rebel. If you look at some of the rebellions, they had knowledge of self, and they also had knowledge from their ancestors. You know, or some of them even, like Nat Turner is said to have rebelled after reading the Bible. Or the revolt in Bahia, in Brazil. The slaves there were Muslims, and they read the Quran, and they said, hey, we're not meant to be slaves no more. So they revolted because they gained knowledge from a book. So they understood that you have to crush their will to resist. So family, another thing I want you to take down is increase your reading time. Your reading time will definitely help you fight this oppressive system. Because, hey, you know how you're fighting the system? You're fighting this oppressive system when you are investing your money in stock, when you're buying land, all of that. And the best way to learn how to do that is to read. When you're building a family, you can read on how to properly build a black family. You understand? You can read. Reading is power. When you want to, as I said, invest, when you want to start up or build a house for your family, you can read on how to build a house. When you want to get more in touch spiritually, you can read on how to do that. When you want to farm, produce your own food, because you have to understand that in order for us to be truly independent, we must produce our own food. You can read on that. You understand? Reading is power. So he now said, we reverse nature by burning and pulling a civilized Negro apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. And when he says her, he's talking about the black woman. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, family. Destroyed. Now this instance right here, this is not like the light skin versus dark skin, because that came out of slavery. You understand? As after slavery finished, you still had animosity between light-skinned and dark-skinned people. You would have African Americans who were the bourgeoisie, who a lot of times were light-skinned black people who thought that they were better than darker-skinned black people, and they would form their own sorority. So since coming out of 1800s, we already had a color tone divide in the community. We already had light-skinned black people versus dark-skinned black people. There was the paper brown bag test to, if you could join the organization. If you were darker than the paper brown bag, you cannot be let in, because as Willie Lynch said, he divided us, and we let that divide continue. We let so-and-so not be joined because they were light-skinned or dark-skinned. We got to stop that crap, family. As I said earlier, we got to stop that. So that came right out of slavery. Now, this didn't. And I say it didn't because coming out of slavery, black men were still leaders in the community. The Reconstruction period, we had James Smalls, Hiram Revels, other black leaders who became politicians, senators, leaders in the community, because Reconstruction was a massive movement of black leadership in the U.S. government. So we still had black leaders who are men coming out. The male image, I don't believe, was fully destroyed. You understand? It came back because the black man was still trying to be the leader. Marcus Garvey movement, the black man was still being the leader. The male image wasn't destroyed. Elijah Muhammad, still strong black male leadership. MLK, Malcolm X, all strong black male leaderships. Huey P. Newton, very strong. But Huey P. Newton, I believe, and Fred Hampton, where they said, enough is enough. We have to stop this strong black male leadership. We have to stop it. You understand? Enough is enough. They knew they had to stop it. So what did they do, family? First thing I saw was the welfare system. And I'm going to do a complete episode on that. I've been reading No Disrespect by Sister Soldier, as I said in my last episode. And she goes in depth about it. And I'm going to talk about how that's a system meant to keep us in an oppressive state. And what you think is help is not really help. But he understood, hey, all right, if I get it to where, the woman can make money without the man in the household, I'm dividing. See, the 60s, the late 60s and the early 70s, that's where you seriously see the divide that we have seriously ingrained today start, family. It wasn't during the 40s, the 50s, or really the 20s or 30s. The black man, the black woman was still hand in hand. You also got to keep in mind, Marcus Garvey, his best person beside him was his wife, Amy Garvey. You understand? Malcolm X, he always said, hey, Betty Shabazz helped me the most. She was solid with me. She helped me be the man I am. So we also got to understand, the black woman, the black man was still a team. But they understood you have to break that. So in order to break that, you got to make the divide. And when they saw Huey P. Newton, and they saw Fred Hampton, and saw other strong black male leaders coming up who had black women there to support them, they understood you had to break the divide. So what happened with that as I said, during the 60s and 70s, the welfare state come in. Okay, now sisters could have children without any committed fathers and get paid money from the government. And if you decide to marry, your welfare was cut. If they saw a man in the house, your welfare was cut. So the government was pretty much saying, hey, we'll take care of you, just don't have a black man in the household. So we understood that. They understood that. And I believe personally that they probably tapped into this Willie Lynch letter and reinforced it. Because the welfare system just destroyed the black family. And we're going to have another episode on that. But just touch on it, it destroyed it. So we got to understand that the destruction and division between the black man and the black woman is one of the biggest ways to destroy black people. We got to keep that in mind, family. And they did it specifically because they understood that in Africa, we were a team. But now they have to come in and say, hey, we got to separate them. As they did on the plantation and slavery, they want to do that again. So that's what they did. He also said, destroy the male image. So now the black man is not in the household. All right. They done that with the welfare system. They also introduced cocaine, which became crack. And now we know that crack destroyed the community. I saw a video the other day on a brother saying, he said it was the best feeling ever. Crack. So we know that even further divided the community because they caught you with crack. They sent you to jail for a long time. That's where the Joe Biden in 1994 crime bill came in. Brothers were getting locked up for having drug possession. And now our women have to take care of these children alone. Mass incarceration, another way of dividing the black man and the black woman. Because now he's locked up. She has to take care of the kids alone. You understand? So with drugs and welfare, the division began and division started. And then you said the image is destroyed. I underlined that part when I took my notes because the image is important. Coming into the 70s, we had these movies like Superfly, The Mac. Black man out here pimping his women. Superfly, oh, he the Mac, he the pimp. Over here disrespecting women, doing drugs in the community. All of these movies, which we love to say, oh, it showed black people in power, it was destroying the black male image. Because the black man was in the community pimping out his women. The black man was out there destroying his women. So now it looks like the black male image destroyed. The black male in those movies looks like he's the oppressor. And in the movies he does. So we go into the 90s, you know, we get Menace to Society, black men being gangsters, boys in the hood, you know, we just out here killing each other. The black man's image has been destroyed. And this is I think this is the most important part of the letter because you understand the genders must be united for people to succeed. So we understood again that you had to cause that division between. Now I'm going to touch on the last part, one of the other parts that he said in here real quick. Psychological state of independence. She will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. Sound familiar, family? For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. Now, you've got the Negro woman out front and the black man behind and scared. Now, that to me, family, that was it. That was when I said, wow. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, family. We got to be truthful with ourselves as black people if we want better. We have a serious, I don't know how to say it, but we're not the same black people we were before, but we're really not today. You got some brothers out here, you know, as he said, you'll have the black man behind who really don't want to step up. We just out here just playing around, you know? And that's due to the system. We all know that's due to our oppression. We all know that's because of the oppressive system. But we also got to take responsibility of ourselves. One part that struck out to me again was when he said, you have to keep him mentally weak, but physically strong. To me, that made me think exactly of athletics. I don't know, my head went straight there, family. Let me tell you why. I was out in the park one day, and I was, you know, with my mom. I just finished the cross country. This was in high school, cross country practice. And there's a recreational football field on the other side of the park. And the children were now getting out the car, and they were gearing up. They got the football equipment on. I'm talking about 7-year-old boys gearing up, football equipment on. Football equipment. They all geared up, got the cleats, everything, got the helmet. They ready to go and rumble. And what struck me was that my mom told me, she said the funniest thing, but you know, parents a lot of times, mom and dad will say things and I'm like, but then when you sit on it, you're like, wow, they were really seeing something about society. She said, these are little boys already ready to play football. From young, they're doing this. You see, from young brothers and sisters, as he said, we are training we're training our youth to be physically strong. We're putting them in football. But what about that mind, family? Malcolm X wasn't out here being all physically strong. MLK wasn't. Marcus Garvey wasn't. But that mind wasn't weak. That mind was strong, family. They had minds. That's why the oppressor got rid of them in any shape or form, because they had minds. See, we all know, I always tell people, we all know slaves could have overthrown the plantation. We knew they could have done it. That ain't no question. Don't people lie to you and say, oh, they didn't have the tools, you have hands. We knew that the strongest person on the plantation wasn't the master or the overseer or the slave driver. It was the slave himself. But we got to understand, we keep the body, as he said, physically strong, but we keep the mind weak. See, the slave was never strong enough mentally to overthrow his oppressor, to stop being oppressed. But he was physically strong enough to work for his oppressor. We train our young brothers and our young men to be strong enough to play football and play for these white owners in football, making a corporate white-owned business money. Let's get that straight. We don't own the NFL. Our oppressor does. The white man owns that. We don't own that. We're making them money. But we're not even mentally strong enough to use group economics to produce money, to produce financial opportunities in our own community. See, family, check this down. We need to start training our people to be mentally strong. And also physically strong, but mentally strong. There's not a balance, family. Anytime you wonder why a lot of brothers out here say, oh, I want to be an athlete, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, right? It's because it's what they see on TV. You got growing up, a lot of black boys, the only positive black male role model they saw on TV was a black basketball player, was a black football player, was a black athlete, a boxer, baseball player, one of them. That's what they saw as positive images, family. They didn't see a black doctor. They didn't see a black business owner. They always saw it, and if it wasn't that they were seeing, they would watch movies with us being pimps, gangsters, killers, murderers, rapists, thieves, all of that. They weren't seeing a strong black male image because Willie Lynch said, you must destroy the image first. You see, our image has turned to that of one who is not important to the community. We out here doing all this physical athletics, out here doing this, but our minds ain't right, family. You must empower the mind. And that's what we have to do, family. They understood that, hey, Malcolm X out here. Oh, we got Marcus Garvey. We got MLK. We got Fred Hampton, who was very smart. Huey P. Newton, who knew the laws. Oh, no, we got to stop that mind. We can't have these guys out here reading. How about we push more athletics onto them? How about we push more athletics, family? Oh, so now you waking up 5 o'clock in the morning to go do football drills. You waking up 5 o'clock in the morning to go shoot hoops. You waking up 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the boxing gym or to go to the track or to go to the soccer field, to go to the baseball field. But you won't even wake up 5 o'clock in the morning to read a book. You won't even wake up. Before you go to bed, you won't even read for 30 minutes. But you know what you will do? You will play 30 minutes worth of basketball before you go to bed. You will do 30 minutes worth of workouts to be physically strong, but brother, you can't even read on how to get out of your oppressive state. Or sister, you can't read how to get out of your oppressive state. Because let's be real now, we all do athletics. Both sexes do athletics. So it goes for the man and women. But especially the brothers, because we got to understand that as brothers, black men, we are lacking behind everyone in education these days. Everybody. Women, we're like behind our women, everybody. You come to HBCUs, the women outnumber the men. It's not even close sometimes here, brothers. I think they said on one campus it was the male to female ratio was 1 to 6. We not even doing that. We're not in the classroom like we should be as men. I know some of you got to think, oh, I'm talking about the black man. I'm talking about the black man. No, this is everybody's podcast. Don't get me wrong. This is about both genders. But I'm a man. I can relate more to a man. You understand? I'm a man. I can't, talk about what a woman should do all the time because I don't feel like that's my place. You understand? So, again, we clearly have a mentally weak person. But look at this, brothers. He said, have it to where the woman will be independent. Now, again, I mind you, I don't believe that we took on a lot of these characteristics coming out of slavery. But I do believe we've taken it on now. You have sisters out here, brothers, who say, I don't need a man in the household. What do I need a man for? I can take care of my own self. I can pay my own bills. I can start my own thing. I'm not saying be dependent on a man, but it's gotten to the point to where a sister told me the other day, not every black person needs a father figure. We don't all need two-parent households. Family, what are we adopting here? So you're telling me now that your independence isn't rooted is rooted in the sense that you don't need somebody else to provide for you. It's not weak if you have a relationship with another person and y'all working together and providing. That's not weak. That's strength. But again, Willie Lynch, he's smart. He knew what to do. He said you gotta make it to where she wants to be independent. Is psychologically independent. She ain't gonna be looking no brother. And that's what the welfare state did. Daddy was not in the household. Some of our sisters resented the black man, and that's partly our fault because we also have responsibility as men too. But again, they resented the black man. They didn't see him as anybody. So they said, hey, we're gonna do our own thing. And that's what they did. So now, you got sisters out here saying they don't need men. So now that relationship that we had coming out of Africa, and we even had going to the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, is now gone. Because now they don't need us. So now what we have is an imbalance in the community. The black man is down. The black woman is up. The black woman is out here doing everything she can to provide for her family. Because a lot of times we as men don't want to step up. So now what we have to do is we have to begin a psychological reevaluation of ourselves, family. That's the first step. So I hope you guys took down in your notes, and I'll repeat again. 1, we must utilize our elders. We must utilize our eldership. We must look to the elders for guidance as a community. 2, we must stop the division between light and dark skin as black people. We must stop color divisions. We must stop that. Stop it. Stop the color divisions. Light skinned person, dark skinned person, we black. You gotta stop that. I understand people say, oh, this colorism, oh, light skinned people get favored. Yeah, that's true. We gotta stop that. We gotta come together. We gotta call it out and we gotta stop it. Okay. Number 3, we must lose fear. We must lose fear as black people. We must lose fear. We must stop fearing the things that will help us. We must stop fearing to read. We must stop fearing to learn how to start a business. We must stop fearing what will help us, family. Fear is when a man fears or a woman fears, it's not good because that will always hold you back. Don't be afraid of the unknown. My dad always said that. He says, Alejandro, he says Anwar really, but he says Anwar, he said, you're afraid of the unknown. I was afraid of black consciousness, but now look at me. I'm not. I embrace it with a whole heart. So we must stop our fear of what will help us. Number 3. 4 is we must trust each other, family. We must trust. We must trust each other. We gotta trust. We have to trust each other, family. I don't care what it is. We gotta trust each other. We gotta stop this division. You know, one of the best ways to help us start a business is through group economics, family. Let's start. If you want to do group economics, you have to trust your partners that you're going to business with. So we gotta stop this fear. And in order for us to trust each other, we must start doing each other right. I've heard too many stories of black men screwing over black men, black women screwing over black men, all that type of stuff. We need to stop that. Stop screwing over each other, brothers and sisters. We need to stop that. Stop it. We gotta stop doing that. I know I sound like I'm drilling y'all, but I'm not. I'm just saying we gotta stop those. These are the small things that will help us do the biggest things in the community. We gotta trust each other. If I'm correct, that was number 4. Number 5, we build, repair, and create. And in the name of Sankofa, which is to go to what you forgot, the relationship between a black man and a black woman. We must build and repair it, family. That's the foundation. I'm gonna do an episode on the black family, how it got destroyed and all that in the future. Probably next episode, I don't know for sure. But we must do that. That's an ASAP as soon as possible. Too much of this division crap. Black man and black woman are a team. We are not apart. Brothers, stop disrespecting your sisters. Stop calling them names. We gotta stop that. And sisters, we gotta understand the black man's role, the provider and the protector. That's what they gotta understand. We gotta understand each other's relationships here. So we gotta understand here. And number 5, which I think is really, these are in no order, but I think we need to start first. We need to, and even though it says black men, I believe black women must do it too. We must all do it as a race. We need to mentally rewire our brain. I think Marcus Garvey said, take the kinks out of your mind, not your head. We got to really unchain these minds, brothers and sisters. The mind is the most important part of your body. Yeah, your heart's important, but your mind is important too. That's where your nervous system is located. Where you feel things, that's in your mind. We need to utilize our mind. The human brain is important, family. It's what keeps us going. We got to seriously invest time in reading, learning, and educating. And I struggle with this too, but I've really made a commitment to start reading a lot more. Let's start buying more books. I want to start a Black Conscious library at my college in North Carolina Central. I hope that works. But let's start buying more books. Let's start buying more books. Let's start investing in reading. There's so many pro-Black books out there. I mean, Shahrazad Ali is a good author. Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the Jawanza Konfunju, Dr. Ben Jokanan, very important. Dr. Leonard Jeffries, very famous Black authors out there. You know, Nation of Islam also writes books. Everybody's writing books, brothers and sisters. Everybody. I don't care what camp you're in. We can all read here. We gotta start trusting each other too, family. As conscious Black people, we gotta start doing that. We gotta stop the distrust. We gotta be aware of what we're dealing with here. So those are the 5 takeaways. I think it was 5 or 6. I'm sorry, I lost count. No, I'm sorry. I think that was 6 or 5. I'm sorry, fans, I lost count. I got a little too invested in the conversation. But those are the takeaways I took away from this letter. If we do those things, family, we can start to repair. I always like to put the solution based at the end because I'm not talking about the problem. We can talk about solutions. And this is what we can all do. We can all read. We can all mend our relationship with Black women. If you have a bad relationship with a sister or a brother, let's go fix that. If you have a bad relationship with a family member, let's try to fix that. This is not the time for us to be divided over petty things. Because Black people, we divide ourselves over petty stuff. Crap. Talk, mumbo jumbo. No more. All right? Let's unify. Let's get away with this coloristic crap. Let's unify together. Let's, excuse me, let's not be fearful of what will help us. Let's begin to trust each other. These are the stepping blocks and stools. And I'm telling you, family, and I know some of us don't want to hear it, but I said I'm not going to hold back. This ain't going to be solved by a vote. This ain't going to be solved by a march. This ain't going to be solved by a sit-in. This is going to be solved by you as an individual. Remember somebody said the principle of Islam. I, self, Lord, and Master. That's an acronym for the word Islam. I, self, Lord, and Master. I repeat this a lot. You are master of yourself. We can always blame the oppressor, but it's time for you to master yourself and say, you know what? I want better. I want to unchain my mind. I'm going to stop fearing. I'm going to start having fights with my woman. I'm going to stop looking at this complexion over that complexion. I'm going to stop going for I'm going to stop being mentally weak. I'm going to stop over here. I'm investing all this time in the football, but you know what? I'm not even trying to strengthen my mind. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop being what they want me to be. They want me to be strong so they can make money off me in the NFL and the NBA. But you know what? They don't want me to be smart. They don't want me reading these books. So I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to invest more in my books. I understand we got to do athletics, brothers and sisters. I track. I love running. I like doing track. A track athlete. I was. I don't know what I am right now. But the point is, I was a track athlete, okay? But, I enjoy running. I still run today, But I've understood slowly that, running is good and it's very healthy, but, in athletics is one thing. You're not going to be an athlete forever. You never will. You're not going to be out here 60 years old playing football. But you know what you will always have? You will always have that mind that will stay with you. Your mind's going to stay with you. It's going to stay with you. Your physicality won't be no use to the community when you're 70 years old. You might have arthritis, God forbid to anybody out here, but you're 70 years old, you might have arthritis and you're sitting in a chair in the front porch. What you going to do in the front porch? Your physicality is not going to help. But when you're out there on that front porch with that arthritis and you're sitting out there because you're feeling a little achy. But it's going to come in contact when you have the young brothers and sisters in front of you. You're educating. You tell them, hey, save your money up to invest in stock. Hey, read a book here. Hey, do this, do that. Start a garden. Start learning a trade. Hey, do this on your SATs so you can go to college. You're learning. Your mind will educate those young people on how to help the community in the future. So let's do this, family. Let's change ourselves. Let's go for it. Let's forget what Willie Lynch was trying to do to us. Let's stop investing in his system and let's start investing in our own black system, family. Let's start doing that. I'm happy because I put some solutions and I feel that we can really do this. We can do this, family. We can do this. But again, it starts with I, self, Lord, and Master. It starts with you as an individual and Lord and Master over yourself. So let's do this, family. For this week, a lecture I would like you guys to listen to is I'll repeat this. They stole it, but hold on, let me get it straight now. They stole it, but we must go back to it, I think is the name of it. Hold on, family. Yeah, they stole it, but we must return to it. Yes, family. That's the name of it. Hold on real quick, family. I'm about to make sure I have it all together. Uh-oh. Yeah, they stole it. We must return it. That's the name, family. I read that book. My dad actually had a copy. He gave it to me, and I read the book actually. Very influential book by Richard Williams, brothers and sisters. They stole it, but you must return it. Yes, family. I'm sorry, they stole it, but you must return it by Richard Williams. Very educational book on. It also goes into like a lot of Willie Lynch principles of the breaking up the black family, everything, the household, the man, the woman, and how we have lost our culture as African people, but we must return to it. So please read it. It will play into when I do my destruction of the black family episode. My next episode might be on voting. I'm not sure completely, but I will tap into it in the future. But please read that book. If you cannot read the book, um, please also watch the lecture. It's on Transatlantic Productions on YouTube by Richard Williams. It's a 35-minute YouTube video. I also encourage you to read the book, though. I read the book, took a lot of notes. Very good, very important. I love the book. Talks about some things that we do as a community that we don't really understand has a bigger impact on us that's making us worse than good. But that's what I'm gonna leave you with, family. Watch that lecture if you can, and read that book, please, if you can. But thank you for tuning in for this episode. I wish blessings upon you, and I leave you guys in the name of Hotel.